We are with Tom Davis, owner and proprietor of the famous Station Inn in Cresson, Pennsylvania.
Hi, I don't know how famous we are, but we do have a lot of rail fans coming here, and I hope you're right in saying that we're famous. Famous in a good way. A lot of people every year, a lot of rail fans coming in just to enjoy the heavy traffic, and here comes another one.
When you retired in 1993, what made you come to Cresson, Pennsylvania?
I decided that I wanted to run a bed and breakfast for rail fans. Over the years in traveling around the U.S. by rail, I always saw houses here, houses there, near the railroad tracks, and they'd always strike me as this one or that one would make a neat place to live. And some would be nice, some wouldn't be nice, but boy, what a great spot. If you could live there, you'd be able to see great action. And that idea just sort of stayed in my head and later grew into the idea, the concept of if you had a house and you had enough space in that house, it might be a good idea to rent rooms to rail fans. That there were rail fans who perhaps thought, as I did, about how enjoyable it would be to be near the railroad, and that if I were to operate a bed and breakfast close to a busy railroad, there would be enough people coming to the place to have a lot of fun and make also a few bucks out of it. And that's how it's turned out. Now, the Station Inn is, to the best of my knowledge, the first bed and breakfast east of the Mississippi to cater, not exclusively, but sort of to focus in on the rail fan population. Now, there was another B&B operating at the time, and it was out in Montana. It still operates. It's the Isaac Walton. The Isaac Walton Inn in Essex, Montana, was established before the Station Inn. The Isaac Walton originally started out, I believe, as a lodging facility in Glacier National Park. It's on the west side of the park. And the building was originally built as a hotel for railroad employees. Okay, I think we would have to say that the Isaac Walton got on the scene before the Station Inn. But since opening the Station Inn, the idea of having a place for rail fans seems to have really caught on, and there are a number of other places. All you have to do is turn to the ad pages in Trains magazine, and under lodging, you'll see a good number of places now advertising as lodging, advertising lodging for rail fans. There wasn't any guarantee that this was going to catch on. I just had a strong feeling that it probably would. Right here in front of us is a mixed train. It's passing the Station Inn. It's one of about 75 a day that pass here every day throughout the year. This is one of the busiest pieces of railroad in the United States, and it's a lot of fun to live right next to it. Take advantage of some of the great photo locations that are very close to Cresson, Pennsylvania.
We are at the Cassandra Bridge. But the best place to watch trains in Cresson, Pennsylvania is...
Obviously, I'm prejudiced and I'm biased. The best place to watch trains in Cresson is from the front porch of the station inn. Right now I'm on the front porch of my place. That's a popular gathering spot for rail fans. And in a few seconds, one of the morning trains will be coming by. That's an Amtrak train, and it's going to be heading from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. You'll see that train over my shoulder. And you'll see a lot of trains in addition to this one. Built in 1866, built about 13, 14 years after the railroad came through. So the hotel's been here almost as long as the railroad. I bought the building not as a restaurant and hotel, but really as a hotel, as a piece of property that I could turn into a bed and breakfast for rail fans. And that's been our focus since we opened as a business in the fall of 1993. We have concentrated on rail fans. About 95% of our guests, 95% are rail fans. And they, of course, come from all around the U.S. Most of our guests are from New England and the eastern states, Maryland, Pennsylvania, Virginia. Significant number of people in from the Washington, D.C. area. And our guests like the place. They keep coming back. We specialize in hosting and helping rail fans when they're in the area. A great variety, a very, very interesting variety of trains. You can see more trains other places. The trouble with the other places where you see more trains is they have a sameness about them. The situation almost gets boring. If you go to some of the busy stations on the Long Island Railroad, some of the busy stations out near Chicago, you'll see large numbers of commuter trains, but they are all alike. Here, the variety is rather vast. Well, there are about 75 trains by here in a 24-hour period. And in that 24-hour period, we have solid trains of tank cars, solid trains of coal. A lot of trains with a mixture of freight. And then there are many, many, many container trains. No truck wheels, just a box. And those are the containers that are coming in from Asia, from Europe, and they're moving to various points in the U.S., or they're moving from coast to coast on the railroad.
Give us an idea of the value of one train coming by full of cars.
Wow. Well, the second train was the longer of the two. The first one had about 45 cars of automobiles. They're called auto racks in the business. There are racks inside the cars. And each of those great big freight cars will carry a minimum of 10 automobiles. If they're smaller, if they're small cars, economy cars, then there can be 3 levels of cars in there, and each level holds 5 cars. So the double levels are holding 10, the triple levels are holding 15 cars. Well, if we take that second train, which had 70 cars, 70 freight cars on it, and figure that each of those freight cars had 10 automobiles in it, that means 700 automobiles moving by here in one train. And then if you figure, go ahead.
Average cost of a car these days?
Average cost of a car these days would be what? At minimum of around $20,000. So if you figure 20,000 times 700, and I don't have a calculator, you can figure it out. There's a lot of money moves by.
A lot of money. Everybody do the math.
Yep. Only 15% of our people are new guests, people who've not been here before. And the fun part, one of the fun parts about our operation is that when someone asks a question, I don't have to answer it. I can always turn to another of my guests and say, Charles knows more about that than I do. And of course, Charles is more than happy to give any information that he has. And so my job here is a very easy one. My guests tend to entertain themselves. They love to talk about places they've been, trains they've ridden, trains that they plan to ride. They love to talk about these things. If we figure that the guests are fundamentally entertaining each other, and the railroad is putting the trains out there, I don't have a very difficult job at all. All I do is see that everybody keeps the rooms clean, keeps the breakfasts hearty. I can sit on the front porch and watch the trains with everyone else. It's a wonderful, wonderful, easy way of life.
We're slipping quite a bit. We're still moving along. We've got them on a straight line and gone back up to about 14.
Yes, sir, Roger. Is it, just so I know, is it water or anything out there?
No, but it seems like Robin doesn't like to put sand in these things sometimes.
You're on the no sand, I understand. Yeah, do the best you can there. We got some protection coming up behind you if you stumble.